Great sword! 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 But what if not great sword? You can't see it, but that's the sound of everyone in the Monster Hunter community panicking right now. We don't have a camera outside, so. Hello, my fellow hunters, my fellow waiters of wilds, my fellow returners to world. There is, of course, so much to talk about, so much to speculate upon, so much to wonder, and so much to hope when it comes to the future of this glorious series we all love so much, and indeed specifically in Wilds when we get there, or at least when we get more information in the summer of next year. The thing for me, though, that probably stands near the tippy top of the list is new weapon? Question mark? And this has been on my mind outside of the obvious, because of course it would be cool and probably everybody's thought about it. You know, Monster Hunter has regularly, or perhaps regularly is too generous, but suddenly added weapons over the years. The initial roster in Monster Hunter 1 blossoming to the now 14 with spin-off weapons too, and it does feel like we're in a good place. But with Return to Worlds, I have been playing every weapon, one by one, somewhat randomly, and certainly enjoying it, because although Greatsword is great, the greatest, it is fun to branch out and experience the others. They all have incredible movesets, they're all satisfying, and they're all different. But the thing is with Monster Hunter, the weapons aren't just different between the weapons, they're different between the games, sometimes even the games in the same generation. I mean, look at World to Rise, Iceborne to Sunbreak, all the weapons could not be more different. I don't think it's ever been such a stark difference. So you never really quite know what you're going to get when it comes to your favorite weapon, or indeed when it comes to something new entirely. And whether we end up getting something that's sort of a variation of an existing weapon, like the short-lived era of medium bowgun, or an entirely new addition, like most recently when we got Charge Blade and Insect Glaive in the 4th generation, it's one of the things that can most stir up the game, having an entirely new option for tackling the monsters. Like, for example, what about making Greatsword a ranged weapon? Come on. In any case, it is definitely a big deal to have it happen. The two questions then remain is, one, will it, with a sub-question of should it, and two, if so, what? To tackle the first of will it is, well, who knows? Like, likelihood-wise, I feel like if it's going to happen, now is the time for it to happen. I've touched on this before Wilds was even revealed. It is the point, right? It's the 6th generation. We have the world and we have the foundation. We don't have to rebuild Monster Hunter from the ground up like they did from the 5th gen. This is very much looking to be a soft Monster Hunter World 2, so we have the space to actually develop a new weapon and implement it to tackle this new wild frontier. And there should, I think, yeah, certainly. I think nearly every niche is covered by the Monster Hunter weapons, but I still maintain there is definitely room for the traditional spear and a ground-based, fast, long-reaching kind of stabbiness, sort of like take Insect Glaive's ground moveset and then expand it into entire own unique weapon. That sort of is my elevator pitch every time this comes up, because I think it's a shame that we don't have the hunting spear, you know? That would be the perfect name for it, and you could do all sorts. Go Ancient Civilization and let you blast off the end, you know, explosively, or go, you know, more traditional and just make it a big old sturdy spear. I would love it to be a hybrid ranged melee weapon where we can do stabby combos up close, but we can throw the spear and then retrieve it for a ranged option, or just have a supply of spears that you can keep throwing, but you can use whichever one you're holding as a melee option and really play at any given distance. I think that is the one biggest and best area left to explore. So while I think that it's likely, I think that it should happen, I think that it's time, I think there is no reason to think it's not certainly something they have heavily considered, there is a problem with adding a new weapon. And it's almost an ironic problem, because the existing weapons are so good, and as I said, every new Monster Hunter game, generation especially, tweaks and changes and upgrades them, that you can fall in love with your main weapon all over again. And that's the thing, people are in love with their main weapon. I mean, you know, not me, of course, I don't at all, you know, I don't think you guys would even know what my favorite weapon is. I don't think I fall into that category in any kind of way, but, you know, a lot of people are in love with their favorite main and best weapon. So with that context of, you know, stabby implement adoration, getting someone to transition and try and then keep playing a new weapon requires them to essentially swap mains, which isn't crazy, of course. That's happened throughout Monster history and happens in games in general. You have a new favorite main way of fighting that you've now adopted, and that keeps going until the next thing that catches your interest. But the point is, increasing adoption of a new weapon to the point it is worth the development time is certainly a challenge. So looking at Wilds and what we know about it, well, we have the two weapon situation going on, right? The bowgun in the pouch and the greatsword on the back. If we take the interpretation of this to be the certainly viably likely scenario that you can swap weapons either mid-hunt, or you just bring two weapons on a hunt and you can choose which one you use at a given time, just a pair of weapons and that's your loadout, well, that is the greatest environment for introducing a new weapon, because then you don't have to choose. You can have your weapon cake and stab it too. You can bring your main weapon on your back, and you can bring the new weapon in your pouch, and have a go with both of them, mix and match, and then, yeah, really fairly see which one you like without giving up the one that you already know you like. And I think that's a really good testing ground for actually bringing this in. And given this sort of like nomadic, exploratory, perhaps build your own camp theme that we're getting with, having a new implement of death for this brave new frontier seems like a good call. Something that works with it, something from this land, maybe something weather or lightning related if they're going to go that tied to it, though it would need to carry on into future Monster Hunter games as this is properly mainline. But I think a new world, a new wild area certainly calls for something new to tackle it with. So with that in mind then, the second question that I proposed is, what weapon? Obviously we have something new entirely, and you know my thoughts on what I would like that to be, but we don't have to have something new. We can look to the farther-reaching world of Monster Hunter. And at that point, there is three chief options, because as much as I think Prowler is cute and it's fun, I think calling it a main weapon isn't, you know, perhaps fair, because you just swap what you're playing as and you're not your hunter anymore. So in that realm then, we have the Accel axe, essentially the rocket-powered axe from Explore, leaving you having burst movement with big, powerful swings. You get to sort of have a heavy yet fast weapon because of that, and essentially it's just like the rocket-powered rocket-powered greatsword being made into its own entire weapon. And it's really, really neat and unique, and I do love it. The issue is, I doubt we're going to get anything from Explore. That feels too far off the beaten path, which is a shame because there's some really good monsters in there that would fit the theme of this game fantastically. A lot of desert dwellers like the sandy elder dragons. But we then have Frontier, and we know that Frontier is certainly on the menu, right? Because of Sunbreak, Espinas, but even beyond that direct just lift from Frontier, even the follower system was very Frontier inspired. So the idea that we might get Frontier weaponry inspiration, if not a direct take, but certainly infusion, that is perhaps exciting. The Tonfas, blunt dual blades, or a little bit of insect glaive in there, a lot of aerial movesets, two separate modes, so you've got Switch Axe charge bladiness going in. There is a lot going on. It's one of the most complex weapons going, if I can give my honest feelings on it. I found it a little bit too much, really, but it is certainly fun and has some real hard-hitting combos, and the single longest combo going in the game, it really is definitely going to appeal to a lot of people. And then, yes, the magnet spike, brutally overpowered, ridiculously good, and it has everything. Blunt, cutting, zipping in, zipping out. You just really, like the iframes on nearly everything this does, it's absurd. It's great, and it's needed to combat the endgame of Frontier after so many years of power creep, but if it was to just be put in Monster Hunter, it would kind of break the game. Either it would make everything too easy, or the game would have to be made so hard to allow for it that every other weapon would have to be buffed accordingly, or everyone would just use Magnet Spike, and it would be warpingly bad. But some sort of magnetism-based device, especially when we are seeing these mysterious spikes. We've got lightning, we might go into the electromagnetism realm, which is a lot of frontier-y stuff, a lot of monsters based on it. That could be a theme, and then we tie the new weapon into that. We have that status brought into the monsters, and that whole shebang. Yeah, that could be really fun. And I think all of these things we talk about are certainly interconnected. If you have a new weapon, you can tie it to a new status, which you can tie to a new monster, which you can tie to a new area, and it makes it feel very interwoven and natural. And I really do like that about Monster Hunter, and it's certainly the kind of thing I would expect to happen if they did go this route. So while I don't think they would take literally Tonfa or Magnet Spike, I can see Frontier weapon design sneaking its way in a little bit. Obviously, I would prefer it to just be an entirely new weapon, but I am nowhere near any kind of against it to having clear inspirations or even lifts from certain aspects of spin-off equipment. I think that is certainly fine, because there is a lot of good design space that has been explored there. But essentially, I don't think the case for a new weapon make it that lovely whole 15 in Monster Hunter Wilds has gotten any less since the Wilds reveal. I think what we talked about a little bit ago with the 20th anniversary logo, how it is very much structured like a clock, with the weapons forming the various hours, and only the greatsword filled in, it sort of implies a countdown, a timer, over the course of the month. And now we know we have a full year for it to stretch across. Well, each one can get filled in until eventually, new weapon reveal, there we go. Because it seems interesting to have this focus on weapons, and to very deliberately only have greatsword filled in, and the others as silhouettes. It just is set up for it. And I think it's hard to interpret that as any kind of other thing. I mean, it could just be purely a stylistic design choice. Greatsword is the flagship weapon, but we didn't want to ignore the other weapons, so that's how it went. But at the same time, I could totally see big plans for the 20th anniversary year, and big plans involves big reveals. So now, seeing that we do have space for perhaps a second weapon to encourage adoption, and that we have got a lot more development space to go into things like new weapons now that world already exists and they can build upon it, yeah, I am hopeful, I am excited, and I look forward to whatever is revealed, and I think a 15th weapon is certainly something that I would put near the top of the list. Let me know what you think, of course, on all of my thoughts and your own. I always love these discussions with you guys. But for now then, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.